I think that we can all agree that we expected Mike Trout, Christian Yelich, Cody Bellinger, Max Scherzer. We all expected these guys to be really good in 2019. But what about the players that we did not expect to be that good? What's going on, guys? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another Major League Baseball video. We are going to have a blast today because we get to talk about some very underrated players in 2019. These are players that are making a huge impact on these teams, and if I'm looking at the list, all of these teams are either in the thick of things when it comes to wild card or playoff races, or they're on the come up and they're going to be good in the next few years. But either way, it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. If you guys are going to any sporting events anytime soon, or maybe even a concert, use code Fuzzy on Seatgeek to save $20 off. And also, if you guys think that I forgot any player, let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and without further ado, let's start talking baseball. The players that we're going to talk about today are going to fall in one of two categories. The first one is that they're having a breakout season here in 2019, and the second category is going to be they were terrible back in 2018, just a year ago, but all of a sudden they're either on a new team or they just found their swing again and they're back to being the player that they were. Thus, they're kind of shocking the baseball world. The first player on our list is going to be someone that was really good in 2018 while at the same time really bad in 2018, because Jose Ramirez started off on fire in the first half last year, but then towards the end he really did not come in clutch for the Indians, and that was part of the reason why we really got swept by the Astros. But unfortunately, his struggles at the plate continued in 2019. On June 12th of this year, he wasn't even hitting 200. That same day, he had a 198 batting average. But let me tell you guys, Jose Ramirez, Mr. J-Ram, he's back. The Indians have been one of the best teams in all of baseball in the second half, and the biggest reason, in my opinion, maybe aside from pitching, we'll talk about a few pitchers in just a second, but Jose Ramirez in the second half, in just 36 games played, he has a .331 batting average with 13 home runs, 39 RBIs in those 36 games played, 6 stolen bases, and a plus 1,000 OPS. So the reason why I want to put J-Ram first is because he was so bad both in the second half of 2018 and in the first half of 2019, where we were all thinking that maybe Jose Ramirez was a fluke. He's not very good. I think he put all the haters to rest. He's back in business. Jose Ramirez is shocking the baseball world. I do not think that anyone, even Boston Red Sox fans, saw this coming in 2019. The second player on this list has to go to Rafael Devers. This guy is leading the American League in hits, doubles, RBIs, and total bases, all for a whopping salary of $600,000. At 22 years old, going on 23, Rafael Devers, he's playing like prime Evan Longoria. If you guys don't remember, back in the day, Evan Longoria was winning Gold Gloves. He was raking inside the batter's box. Now, I do have to say, Rafael Devers, he's not going to win a Gold Glove anytime soon. But this guy, if Mike Trout did not exist, I can pretty much guarantee that Rafael Devers would be running away with the MVP. The Red Sox, they're kind of staying afloat in the American League East. They might be going for a wild card spot because they have won a few games in a row. Rafael Devers, though, the fact that he has over 100 RBIs, he's pushing 30 home runs. Rafael Devers, you can't do any wrong right now. I always thought that Max Kepler of the Minnesota Twins was a really solid young player, but in 2019, he's really stepped it up a notch. Trevor Bauer of the Cleveland Indians, or at least when he was with the Cleveland Indians, learned just how good Kepler was when he gave up 3 home runs to him in a single game and instantly became Max Kepler's son. Yeah, so Max Kepler is Trevor Bauer's daddy. All jokes aside, because I do love Trevor Bauer, he's one of my favorite players in baseball. Max Kepler reminds me of one of my favorite players ever, Grady Sizemore, just without the speed, because Grady Sizemore was stealing 35-40 bags and hitting 35-40 home runs. Max Kepler, he's doing pretty much the same thing. At the time of this recording, in 115 games played, Max Kepler has 33 home runs already, 81 RBIs, and an 865 OPS. I can promise he also has a really good arm and glove in the outfield. As an Indians fan, I can tell you I'm not excited to see Max Kepler playing for the Twins, considering he's going to hit probably 100 home runs in the next 5 to 6 years for the Minnesota Twins. He's going to be a pain in my side for a long time, but you know what? I don't mind it. Max Kepler, shocking the baseball world, and I'm here for it. Coming up next, we have my favorite player from this list, and the reason why I'm saying that is because his story as shocking the baseball world is my favorite, because Sonny Gray in 2018 was literally thrown off the Yankees by the fans and the management. He had a 4.9 ERA, so if we're being honest, he did not do himself any favors. He had an 8.5 strikeouts per 9 last year as well, so those were all career worst, and in 2019, he's gone from a 4.9 ERA to a 2.9 .98 in 24 starts, and also he's increased his strikeouts per 9 while at the same time decreasing his walks per 9. So overall, Sonny Gray is having a terrific season. If you combine him with Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo, and their up-and-coming prospects for the Cincinnati Reds, they might be a force to reckon with the next couple of years. The only thing is Joey Votto's contract is kind of eating up the books. I do hope that Sonny Gray continues this, and honestly, we're going to talk about some Yankees players in just a second, but they let him slip. Alright, so I'm sure I riled up a few Yankees fans just by saying the name Sonny Gray, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and talk about how great the Yankees farm system and management has been so far in 2019, because players like Giancarlo Stanton, Didi Gregorius, Troy Tulowitzki, Aaron Judge, they've all been injured, and there's still 40 plus games above 500. I still don't understand it, but there's 3 guys that I want to give a quick shout out to because they're shocking me. 2 of the 3 players that we're about to talk about from the Yankees actually were on the Indians, and it's very unfortunate to know that these guys could have been contributing for my club, but instead they're playing for the Bronx Bombers. The first player that I want to talk about is Cameron Maybin. In 59 games, this dude is batting .309 with 8 home runs. Now, 8 home runs might not sound like a lot, but for Cameron Maybin, that's actually really solid. And on top of that, he has a .914 OPS. But it gets better. Mike Tauchman is also breaking out. A lot of people like to make fun of his last name, like let Tauchman do the talking, but if we're being real with ourselves, this guy might be one of the better hitters on the Yankees right now. In 71 games played, which honestly I didn't even think that he was going to last 71 games, but he proved me wrong obviously by hitting .290 with 12 home runs and a .915 OPS. He has a 1.2 defensive WAR, which is easily one of the best in all of baseball if we're talking outfielders. I had no idea that he was coming. I even put out a Twitter poll a couple days ago. I'm not sure if people were just trolling me, but I said, would you rather have Mike Tauchman or Bryce Harper? Bryce Harper won, but it was like 60% Harper, 40% Tauchman. So Tauchman, he's not bad. Gio Urshela. My gosh, what happened to this guy? So the 2 players that were on the Indians from this Yankees list was Cameron Maybin. If you don't remember, he was on the Indians roster to begin the season. He was playing for the minor league team. And then also Gio Urshela was with the Tribe a few years ago. This guy, I saw him live in person. He was always pretty solid as a defender, but with a stick, in my opinion, I know it's not the case anymore, but he was an automatic out. And that is exactly why he is making the list. In 2019, Giovanni Urshela is pushing his own teammate DJ LeMahieu for the American League batting title. Just take a look at these stats. In 105 games played at the time of this recording, Gio Urshela has a .336 batting average with 18 home runs, 66 RBIs, and a .951 OPS. The league average for OPS is usually about 750 to 800. He's almost pushing 1,000, which is MVP-like. Gio Urshela is I don't have words for this. I really don't have words. Just like Ketel Marte in the first video I made about a month ago where I was shocked, I don't know how Gio's doing this. But props to him and the Yankee staff. They're 40 games above 500 because they know how to develop talent. And I got to tip my cap. GG Yankee fans. I was going to talk about 2 more players from the Indians, but we'll talk about them in just a second because while we're on the subject of New York, let's talk about the Mets real quick because they have a guy named JD Davis. Where did this guy come from? I don't know where he did, but he's really good. JD Davis was a failed prospect with the Astros. He was traded from the Astros to the Mets back in January of 2019. Also, fun little fact from Fuzzy is JD can pitch. He actually struck out Chris Davis and a few other guys back in the day. So if Seth Lugo and Edwin Diaz don't figure it out as the closer, maybe it's time for JD Davis to step in. He can throw 96. If we're being serious, JD Davis is one of the biggest reasons why the Mets are surging in the second half of 2019. They have kind of fallen off a little bit in the last week, maybe 2 weeks, but JD Davis has a .312 batting average for the year with 14 home runs, almost a 900 OPS. The one knock on Davis is the fact that he is one of the worst outfielders and defenders in baseball. He has a negative 1.4 defensive WAR. I haven't seen something that low in quite some time. Honestly, Bryce Harper used to do that back in the day before he corrected himself, so there's still hope for JD Davis. I just want to give him some props because he can rake. Him and Pete Alonso, they almost kind of look similar. So yeah, I think that JD Davis would be robbed if he was not in this list. So I'm going to tip my cap. He's doing really well. You guys might call me a biased Indians fan, but you know what? I'm looking at the stats, and Shane Bieber and Carlos Santana are breaking out in 2019, having their best seasons yet. So I'm not a homer. I'm just stating the facts because Shane Bieber in 2018 had a 4.55 ERA and a 9.3 strikeouts per 9. The strikeouts per 9 was really solid last year, but that almost 5 ERA, that was definitely ugly. And in 2019, he has turned it around. He has a 3.27 ERA at the time of this recording, and he's gone from a 9.3 strikeouts per 9 to an 11.1 strikeouts per 9 and winning the All-Star Game MVP. Shane Bieber, Go off, man. It's getting to the point where I'm not even sure who the ace of the Indians is. Is it Shane Bieber? Is it Mike Clevenger? Is it still Corey Kluber? Maybe it's Carlos Carrasco when he comes back from leukemia. Also, prayers up to Carlos Carrasco. He had his first rehab start. He was throwing 97 absolute cheddar. Next up, we have yet another tri-player, Carlos Santana. He was booed off the field last year in his first season with the Philadelphia Phillies. He had a .229 batting average with 24 home runs and 86 RBIs. So he did have really good counting stats, but considering he played in 162 games and had a .229 batting average, that's a big yikes for me. I was a little bit trepidatious when we traded Edwin Encarnacion to the Mariners in exchange for Carlos Santana, but luckily it has been one of the better trades I've seen in the last few years. Currently in 2019, he has a .292 batting average. We're talking about Carlos Santana with 29 home runs, a .962 OPS, which is just insane. And my favorite stat, he has 91 walks to only 79 strikeouts. So he is seeing the ball like old school Carlos Santana. He's hitting the ball a whole lot harder. I would even say that him more than J-Ram and the pitching has been the reason why the Indians have been able to be so good this year, and it really makes my heart happy that he's back. Howie Kendrick is playing really well for a 35-year-old. He's honestly playing like he's 27. If the Nationals push for a wild card spot or if they end up making the playoffs, a huge part of it is going to be because Howie Kendrick is playing so well. He is splitting time between Brian Dozier and now Asdrubal Cabrera, but in 91 games that he has played in, he's hitting .319 with 13 home runs and a crazy .917 OPS. Playing like a young Howie Kendrick right now, so he's got to make the list. Mark Canha, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated players in baseball because he does play for the Oakland Athletics. I don't know why they don't get as much as respect as the other teams, because in 2019 they look to be sneaky scary, and his stats have actually been pretty decent. In 90 games played, he has 18 home runs and an almost 900 OPS. I think that if the A's can push for a wild card just like the Nationals, the A's, if they can use Mark Canha and Howie Kendrick to their advantage and steal that spot, they might make some noise like the Mets did a couple years ago when they made the World Series against the Royals. So watch out for Mark Canha and the A's. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. The last two players that I want to talk about in this video are both going to be relief pitchers. The first one is coming from St. Louis. Giovanni Gallegos has a 1.93 ERA and a 12.4 strikeouts per nine. If you guys don't remember, he was acquired from the Yankees last year in the Luke Voit trade. So can you imagine how good the Yankees bullpen would be if they kept him now? Their offense wouldn't be that great or as good. Their offense is still really good if they would not have Luke Voit in it. But the fact that Giovanni Gallegos is doing big things for the Cardinals, honestly, maybe it's a fair trade. Luke Voit is injured right now, so what do you guys think? Giovanni Gallegos with his 1.93 ERA, and then Luke Voit doing Luke Voit things. Okay, maybe it's not so fair. All right. Either way, I did want to shout out Giovanni Gallegos because he has been a stud this year. And the final player on today's list is going to be Emilio Pagan of the Tampa Bay Rays. He spent some time with the A's in his career, also some Seattle Mariners days. But in 2019, he is truly breaking out with a 1.88 ERA, which is better than Giovanni Gallegos. And also, his 13.0 strikeouts per nine is also better. So he is one of the most underrated relief pitchers in baseball. He does not get talked about because I assume that he's just playing in a Tampa Bay system. You just don't get a lot of credit, and that's why a video like this had to be made. So I just wanted to make sure that the players who aren't talked about but deserve to be talked about end up being talked about, if that makes sense. But thank you all so much for watching. If you did learn something, make sure you guys subscribe and also hit a like. If I forgot any player that you think deserves a shout out, let me know in the comment section down below. I appreciate you guys sticking to the end if you did. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.